26 gauge versus 29 gauge steel panels. Which one should you use? Is there a real difference? And does thickness really matter?
We're breaking it all down for you today so you can make the best choice for your metal building.
Welcome back, Pack. I'm Anadela, and here with me today is Adbeel.
Hey everyone, excited to be here on this specific video because I know it's a question that we get asked a lot.
Yeah, I think honestly, I hear it all the time from the salesmen here in the office, and we're going to be talking to you guys about 26 gauge versus 29 gauge metal panels. So which one is better? What is there really a difference? And which one you should be choosing for your metal building?
That's right. And if you're thinking that if the thickness actually matters, stick around because we are going to be covering about what is gauge, like what does the gauge mean, the key differences in durability, warranties, and the cost of it. Also things like spray foam and oil canning that can, those factors that maybe influence your decision and which one to go with.
Correct. And of course, guys, as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, especially if you like this type of video. That way we can continue to bring you guys more insights about metal buildings and some factors to always consider.
Yep. Let's get right into it.
So first things first, what do we mean by gauge? Can you define gauge?
Yes, absolutely. So gauge refers to the thickness of the panel. And here's the key things to remember. The lower the number, the thicker and the stronger the metal panel. So between 26 gauge and 29 gauge, 26 gauge steel is definitely a lot more thicker and stronger than 29 gauge. And here at WolfSteel Buildings, we offer 26 gauge, and that's for our ag panel and our PBR panel, and 29 gauge for our ag panel. Okay.
One thing to remember, Adbeel's mentioning ag panel and PBR panels. Those are profile designs of styles of panels. We're gonna go over that a little bit later, so we're not gonna open that can of worms just yet. For right now, we actually wanna do a giveaway for some of our new merch. I will be popping that up on the screen because neither of us are wearing it, but it is a new shirt that's out there. You guys are gonna love it. You should be seeing it on the screen. The question that we will be answering, Adbeel, what is it?
The question is, we have our fabrication shop. Where is it located? All right. First one to leave a comment, we will ship it to anywhere in the US for any of our fans that are watching. So where is, and we're looking for the city and state, where is our fabrication shop located at?
That's right, that's right. Be the first one to comment down below and we will ship that out to you. But moving forward with the video and going back, biggest thing and that we will be going over is there a difference between 29 gauge steel and 26 gauge steel metal panels?
Absolutely. And the obvious one is definitely thickness, but there are other key factors that separate these panels. And I'm gonna name them off. So we got design, strength, warranties, aesthetics, and pricing. So let's break each one of those down.
So now we're gonna open the can of worms, and that can of worms is the panel design. You mentioned ag panel versus PBR panel. When we're talking about panel designs, we're referring to the rib patterns and the structural profiles. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. So in ag panel, that's very, very common for tubular metal buildings, okay? Not for red iron, only for tubular. And so the ag panel has 5 ribs, a little bit more smaller, a little bit more rounded, and it's about 3/4 inch tall. And that can come into 29 gauge or 26 gauge. So you can get either or.
For tubular buildings.
Tubular buildings. So if you call in and request a quote for, a tubular metal building, the standard one that is offered across the industry is going to be 29 gauge. Okay, you can ask for 26 gauge at an additional upgrade. Okay, now for our red iron projects, we use a lot the PBR panel, also called R panel. They're not exactly the same, by the way, PBR panel and our panel. PBR panel is definitely better for our roofs, and so it's the only one we use specifically for our metal buildings. That is available only in 26 gauge, okay? And even 24 gauge.
Yes, we do have it as an upgrade for a 24 gauge.
That's correct. And then the rib panels the rib design is actually different. It has 4 ribs. It has higher ribs. It's 1 1/4 inch rib height. And you're gonna be seeing the comparisons, the designs, a little bit more rugged, a little bit more sharper, I could say, the PBR. But then again, it's just a matter of preference. I feel like the Ag panel has a little bit more of a modern look to it. So it just depends on that. But as far as the gauges, that's what there is as availability.
Correct. And those are the design style, profile styles that we have. But another big thing that we should be looking at is also strength. How much stronger is a 29 gauge versus a 26 gauge? This is, I think, the biggest thing that customers look at. I want a strong building, which one? I just want the strongest. What do you offer?
Yes, so as we mentioned, since 26 gauge is thicker, then it's also stronger and actually more rigid than 29 gauge. But how much stronger? Well, 26 gauge is about 25% thicker than 29 gauge, okay? So thicker panels, especially here in Texas, and I know right now we're having a huge windstorm. We just got sandstorm, tornado warnings, and hail in certain areas. The thicker panels actually handle, the hail and wind
a lot better.
Yeah. That's correct. More thickness also equals less flexibility, which reduces oil canning. You don't want to miss out. We have a specific video coming out about oil canning. But keep in mind, the panel materials can vary depending on where you source the material or where your builder sourcing the material. Not all 29 gauge is created equal. Not all 26 gauge is created equal. There is some slight fluctuations in thickness within that certain gauge. That's depending on the manufacturer, but then again, that's a topic for another day.
Yeah, so we will have a video coming out on oil canning. If we already have it, we'll go ahead and link it up above. But if not, please, of course, make sure you're subscribed so you can be on top of those videos. But another factor for strength is also the number of ribs that the panel has, the rib height, which Adbeel mentioned. I will be popping those up as well. And as he mentioned, the material composition, which is the panel's overall yield strength.
Yeah, so a lot of the times, it's like, which one's stronger between Ag panel and PBR? Well, that's just a different topic I know it's a question, it's a different topic. But there's a lot of factors into, how many ribs and also the height of the rib. These all also create a different strength into a panel. But overall, between 29 gauge and 26 gauge panels, definitely 26 gauge is still winning when it comes down to its strength. Now, for PBR panels, we do offer, as we mentioned, the 24 gauge, which is even stronger, but definitely the price goes up.
Yeah.
And keep in mind that a lot of the times, the price is more on weight, okay? So that's really how steel is usually bought from suppliers. It's mostly on weight. So the more weight, the more the price. So the heavier the materials you buy, the more the price is. That's really how it works in the supplier world of steel.
So that kind of leads into the next question that customers really ask, right? So which one should you use? Is one really better than the other? What do we think? What does WolfSteel think?
So the answer is, it depends, okay? So the best gauge for your metal building depends on how you plan to use it and where you're located. 29 gauge Ag panels, they're very standard for tubular buildings, and it's ideal for like utility use if you're just using it for a workshop, a storage building, and even residential. At times, it just depends on the framing behind it. It has a lot to do with it. And for 26 gauge PBR panels, it's very standard for red iron buildings, used in both residential and commercial and even public use structures like churches, again, businesses and homes. 26 gauge PBR panels it's been a lot more common. But here's what really matters. High hail areas. Okay, if it's high hail areas like here in Texas, we get a lot of hail.
All the time.
I recommend to go thicker. I mean, definitely 26 gauge will handle impacts better, especially if at least on your roof, okay? That way you don't get those dents. Now, if you're getting a red iron metal building, it's standard all 26 gauge, and that's by default. If the concern is more stress or heavy loads, again, 26 gauge is definitely a safer bet. And looking for cost-effective option in a mild climate, then 29 gauge works great.
I think one of the curveballs that sometimes people look at, or we always tell them, oh, you're gonna get this. This can happen, is going to be spray foam. So another factor to consider is, are you getting your building spray foamed? Because we've actually seen that the 29 gauge panels, when paired with that, closed cell spray foam, which is the only spray foam that we do offer, it creates like a very strong panel. We've gone, and I think sometimes I'm like, Adbeel, don't bang it so hard. It's a customer's building, and you're like, pa, 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 right? But we see how much stronger it gives that panel. And sometimes, customers are like, no, I want to get 26 gauge 29 gauge with that spray foam.
That's a great point, and that's one of the factors to really consider. If you're gonna be doing 29 gauge panels, but getting spray foam, in my opinion, for a workshop, a garage, or a shop, I think it's already good right there. The spray foam adds rigidity to your metal panel, and overall, it really straightens your panel. So you're basically getting that 26 gauge upgrade, but with insulation.
Yeah.
So it's a better bang for your buck.
That's 2 for 1.
My opinion.
A 2-for-1 deal.
A 2-for-1 deal. Another thing that I didn't speak about 29 gauge is if you're installing it over OSB or zip system, which is something we don't do, but it's very common in residential where you do OSB or plywood or the zip system, and then you put the 29 gauge behind it. Mm-hmm. 29 gauge is pretty good.
Yeah.
You don't need to go too thick on that, because you got the plywood or OSB as your backing and a shear wall. So that's something to consider. But then again, going back to spray foam, 29 gauge is sufficient with spray foam for that use. But again, you can always be safer and going to 26 gauge.
So Adbeel, let's actually discuss warranties. There's a little bit of difference within the warranties. They do vary across suppliers. So here we're just talking about WolfSteel and what we do. For our 29 gauge panels, we offer a 10-year paint warranty. For 26 gauge panels, we do offer a 40-year paint warranty. So a significant difference.
That is correct. So all our panels are galvanized, okay? So the coils are galvanized before they're painted. Mm-hmm. And so that already helps regarding rust, but the paint warranty is for the paint that goes on it. Again, 29 gauge panels, you can actually get 40-year paint on 29 gauge. That's definitely doable out in the marketplace. But for WolfSteel Buildings, we do 10-year. As for our 26 gauge, we get the 40-year paint warranty, which is one of the best paints out there. So that is something to consider. And why does this matter? Well, if you ever need to replace a panel, then fading over time can really cause that slight color difference. Yeah. So I know my father, he has built onto his metal building so many times, you can tell the difference in the panels at first. It kind of starts matching after a couple months when the sun starts beating on it, but you can tell the difference.
Right.
And so having a stronger paint warranty definitely helps on that.
So another big thing about panels is oil canning. Does panel thickness affect it?
Yes, oil
One answer, yes. So oil canning is, when you look at oil canning, really what it is it's that wavy look that you get on the panels, and that is really just due to stress wrinkling. And it is actually one of the biggest concerns, aesthetic concerns in the metal building industry.
Yeah, and definitely thicker panels, 26 gauge, really reduce the oil canning because obviously it just makes it more rigid. Especially the oil canning, you can see it a lot in your panels, but also your trims. Getting 26 gauge on your trims and panels definitely is one of the best ways to minimize oil canning.
Yeah. And I would like to, point out once again, we do have a video coming out on oil canning. We get down to the nitty gritty of everything that is oil canning. What are some of the steps to like kind of take before you get your metal building, so you kind of know how to minimize it and kind of take care of it before the issue happens, rather than once you have your building up, because it's a little hard once you have that building up out there for you. So,
and we're probably going to be dressed the same, because I know it's the video that we're about to record right next after this video.
Yeah, that's another topic for another video, so make sure again that you're subscribed for that. But here I think the biggest thing that we're looking at, we keep telling everyone, upgrade, upgrade, upgrade. But what is the cost for that upgrade between the 26 gauge and the 29 gauge? So we talked a little bit about durability, the warranties that each one has, the designs. Now let's talk price.
Let's talk price. So in general, the cost, like the cost of the material is around 25 to 30%. When you're looking at the cost of your metal building, just a metal building, nothing additional, not your whole project, you can be looking at around like a 5% to 10% increase on your metal building price. Overall, up to a 15%, just depends how many walls you have. So just kind of expect that. And this again is for tubular, because tubular comes with the 29 gauge as a standard, and then you upgrade to a 26 gauge. When you ask for a red iron, by default, the price already includes 26 gauge. Which is something to really keep in mind is that, and I don't think we stress this enough or we mention it enough, if you upgrade your tubular building with 26 gauge, with 12 gauge, and you add gutters and you add almost all those,
the shebang.
The price of a red iron is here in a tubular, and you're basically getting right up to it. So there is a difference in there, and with these upgrades, especially with the 26 gauge, you're getting up there to the 26 gauge. So this all adds up depending on the size of your project.
So guys, honestly, as you can see, there is so much to consider when you're trying to choose whether you should go with that 26 gauge upgrade, or the 29 gauge for the tubular, or just knowing what you get with the 26 gauge on the red irons. Lots of differences on thickness and things of that sort, but everything just goes with your needs. Really,
yep.
What fits with you.
Yeah, I mean, if you're just wanting like a workshop or a little shop, or it's just a short-term investment, then definitely 29 gauge will do. I've seen 29 gauge metal buildings out there for years, and it's still good, But if you are, if it's like really a workshop you're going to be in, and you want it to be, on the like a good investment for future as well, then definitely 26 gauge PBR or 26 gauge panels, ag panels, is definitely the way to go. And it's a lot more of a stronger choice.
Well guys, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. The weather is warming up, guys. Our projects are rolling out. We're excited to continue showing you guys a lot of what's coming up next. And we actually, don't forget that we have a giveaway. Make sure to comment down below, or also comment down below which panels you're using currently or that you plan to use and why. We'd love to know more about it.
Awesome. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one pack.